Hey friends, it's Alicia and welcome to my channel, Palpable Pages. Um, it's a rainy day here today. It's been raining off and on. It's been dark and light, going back and forth, so the lighting's been a little bit weird, but it is definitely a perfect day to do a book review and to read books, lay around the house and read, and I love that. My kids are at school and I'm alone and I've just got books galore. I cannot wait to open up and start. I've wanted to talk about this book for a while. I finished this book like right when I got off work, and I read it in bed, and like, oh gosh, like right before I went to sleep in the morning. I work overnights. Got home, showered, finished this book, and I went to sleep. And I wish I could have done the video review of this book right after reading it. When you have all those intense emotions that you still feel like, oh my gosh, like you're just kind of in a trance and in shock by what you just read. And I love this book. I just have to say that it's probably my favorite book I've ever read. It Ends with Us by Colleen Hoover, and this book is the first book of hers I've ever read. And after I read it, I went on a Colleen Hoover binge, and I read like 6 of her books back to back. And I spent the entire month of January just on Colleen Hoover. January is Colleen Hoover month. It was for me. And this book is my favorite of every book she's ever written because it's got so many different aspects going on at the same time. It is mysterious, it's suspenseful, it's thrilling, it's, oh gosh, it's a love stories, 2 love stories, and it talks about starting over in a new place, starting over just in life, and it talks about a person just after graduating college and kind of finding herself and what she really wants to do with her life. And I love all those different aspects of it. But the main character, Lily Bloom, red hair and blue eyes, so I love that. But also I identify with it because a year and a half ago, moved from my hometown to where I'm at now, and it was a big move. It was a big uproot, and it's like I had to let go of everything and everyone I ever knew and start over. And that's exactly what she has to go through in this book. She starts, it starts in Maine because she lived in Maine her entire life, which of course I love lighthouses and rocks and piers and the beach, and they're all things Maine. But she moves to Boston, and then you have to figure out why Boston. It's so mysterious. Why Boston, of all places? And then when she moves to Boston, it says here, she graduates, she hates her job, and she starts over in her own business. And I like what she does. It's kind of hard. It's one of those same things. I feel like everybody kind of goes through that one point in their life. What do I want to do with my life? I'm not really good at anything, or not good enough at anything that I want to do it for the rest of my life. But she finds this thing that's like so perfect for her. And I like that she does it in a way it's so different from how anybody else would do it. And I'm like, I would totally shop there. I mean, that would be an amazing, cool place to go to. So I like that aspect of it. It's pretty creative. But it also explores her love life, her past love, her first love, her old flame, Atlas, because she discovers letters, her old journals, when she moves. And so it already tells you in the back of the book it's about Atlas and Ryle, the love triangle between them, and that Atlas, her first love, is someone from Maine, where she's from, and she has like a love-hate relationship with her mom and her dad and with Atlas, and all the things that happen with Atlas. It slowly unfolds, and you have to figure out, well, if this was so great, why did it end? And you see like the terrible, terrible traumatic things that happened to her in her life, why she decides to move away to Boston. In the very first chapter of the book, it talks about how she's at her dad's funeral and she's giving a eulogy, and it's terrible. And you figure out like why she had that love-hate relationship with her dad and her mom. And then I feel like everybody kind of has that at some point in their lives. You can all identify with like feeling like you don't agree with your parents' choices, but then when you're older in life, you kind of understand a little bit better. At least understanding them makes you accept it a little bit more. And you can have a better relationship later on in life, possibly. I hope that everybody has that chance to understand their parents in a different way when they're adults. But when she's in Boston and she starts over, and she meets Ryle Kincaid. He's a gorgeous neurosurgeon, and it says here, complete aversion to relationships he has, and it's very disturbing. And there's things that happen to Ryle that's very traumatic, and so I love when it explores the dark nature of people and what happens to them that makes them who they are. And so when I read the book, I imagined Ian Somerhalder as playing Ryle Kincaid, because if anybody's ever seen him in as Damon in Vampire Diaries. You know, you love him, you hate him, you love him, you hate him, you love to hate him, you hate to love him. I hate him so much in some pages, and then, oh God, for a very long time, I hated that character, and there's nothing I liked about him. But that's how I felt about Ryle. I loved her and Ryle, and I hated Ryle, and you love to hate him, you hate to love him. There's so many different aspects of Ryle. Then you understand him, and then you understand, you know, Damon on Vampire Diaries, and you're like, oh, okay, so you want to forgive him, but then you care about him, and you hate him, and I liked that. And it says here that he has a complete aversion. He's a little bit disturbing as a person, and that's already given here, so I'm not spoiling anything. But also, she has this first flame of hers, Atlas, that comes back into the picture randomly, and you kind of get to uncover a little bit about him as she's starting to like read her journals and relive her past a little bit. And it's a little healing for her, and it's also very discovering for her and for us, the readers, to know what happens through her journals. And on a different note, other than the storyline, just talking about the character of Damon Salvatore playing, you know, played by Ian Somerhalder, also playing Ryle Kincaid in this book, in my mind. Abigail Cohen is someone who I feel like to a T matches the description of Lily Bloom. Like red hair, blue eyes, soft nature, soft spoken personality. I love Abigail Cohen as playing Lily Bloom. I know they just played Blake Lively, or they just cast Blake Lively to play her in the movie. That was a very big deal, like the whole day all over Facebook and TikTok, and even at work. Everybody has such a big opinion about Blake Lively playing this character and not being Abigail Bloom or anybody, or Abigail Cohen or anybody else. But I'm excited to see what Blake Lively does with it, because I've never seen her play such a vulnerable character. I love everything she does. I love her like diabolic relationship she has with her husband Ryan Reynolds. I like them together. I like all her red carpet looks. I like that she's always so glamorous and like timeless looking and colorful and bold. But when I was a teenager, I loved her in Sisterhood of Traveling Pants, and I loved her in Age of Adeline. I loved her in the Shark movie that's on my shelf that I've rewatched over and over again. And oh my goodness, there's this movie, A Simple Favor, that I've seen Blake Lively in. And just because of that movie alone, I could see Blake Lively, like when I read the book Verity, also by Colleen Hoover, I could not imagine anybody else playing Verity other than Blake Lively. She, in my mind, is Verity. And I couldn't, like, I was like, you cast the wrong role. Now, you can play in 2 movies. Maybe you can do both. I hope they make Verity a movie. I hope they have a sequel to the book Verity. But this book, I'm excited to see what she does with the role and see her play vulnerable and a different side of herself coming out. You know, Adam Sandler he plays Goofy in a Goofy character in all of his movies. And then he goes and does Uncut Gems and completely shocked me and also did a great job. So I'm waiting to be surprised and happy. But also, you know, on the cast of Friends, you know, I didn't know who Jennifer Aniston was when she played Rachel Green as in Friends. And I've never seen Leprechaun before that, so I didn't know who she was or any of them. And I felt that they all did amazing. And so I'm just saying that I imagined Abigail Cohen and Ian Somerhalder as Ryle and Lily when I read the book. Not that they would be the only people in the world that could play them in a movie. But also when I read the book, I was imagining Atlas as like this stoic, not forthcoming with his emotions kind of person. So I imagine him as like Jensen Ackles. And I feel like a very good young Atlas when she goes back to the letters and kind of like relives her past when they were teenagers. A teenage version of Atlas would be great if it was played by like Sam Ashby. That's who I pictured in my mind. I rewatched Sweet Magnolias not too long ago, and Sam Ashby is one of the characters in Sweet Magnolias. And if you look at a picture side by side of Jensen Ackles when he was a teenager with Sam Ashby now, like they look very similar, at least close enough for me. So, and I imagined Emily Blunt as playing her mom. Emily Blunt has so many like diverse characters and emotions that I've seen her play. Like there's no way she would mess up that role. She can do anything. And I love Emily Blunt. She's probably one of my favorite actresses, if not my favorite actress of all time. So I imagine Emily Blunt is playing a character in almost every other book I imagine, because she can do so many things and I love her. But I imagine her as playing the mom, because I could see her playing all the different raw, terrible things that happen, all the amazing things that happen. Yes, and they could probably age her up and make her play like an older version of the mom. But that characters aside, this book is amazing. And one thing I love about it, more than probably anything in this book, if you read the book, you have to read the epilogue at the end, because the epilogue is kind of like giving you a glimpse into the second book, the sequel. It starts with us. So the epilogue, you have to read it, don't skip over it. But then, because this book picks up right after. But the note from the author, you can't not read the note from the author. It is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages, and it really surmounts everything that you've read in the book. And also, like, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that. I can't even say it. I can't believe what she gives away in the note from the author, and I love that. And I love that there are parts of this book that are nonfiction. She talks about it in the note from the author. She talks about which parts are nonfiction, which parts are true, and it just made me love it even more that some of these parts are true. And then you have this big oh god, I can't even spoil it. It's a big realization of something that she gives away, and I'm like, wow. And then I just sit there and think on it for a minute, like, oh my gosh, that means that this and this and this and this and this. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you can't not read the note from the author. That's the best part of the whole book. It really is. I like that she shares little things like that in the back of her books, and then I went on a TikTok binge, and I had to watch all of the Colleen Hoover TikToks, especially the ones about this book. And I love her as a person. I love Colleen Hoover. She's like so like amazing and normal, and I like that about her. She's someone that's so relatable, especially being that she can write things like this. She's not what I had pictured that she would be. I love her as an author. I love her books, and I like her TikToks, and I like the characters that she comes up with, and I love the note from her in this book even more than anything in this book. On a different note, I hope you guys also kind of forgive some of the parts that are about Ellen DeGeneres. There's one small thing. They do have like little parts of the book that kind of reference Ellen DeGeneres, reference Finding Nemo, and I know she's kind of been taking some heat in the media the past few years, but I loved Ellen DeGeneres back in the day when I was a teenager and in my early 20s. I loved her, and so I identify with that, and I feel like a lot of people used to like her back then, or at least you like Finding Nemo, and so there's like tiny little references to that. Yes, so it's not really a spoiler. You figure that out in the first chapter, first 2 chapters really. Anyways, read this book, invest time in this book, and then when you invest time in this book, there's no way you will not be able to invest time in this book. It starts with us. And I wanted to talk about this book in this video, but I'm like, I can't do that without giving away spoilers. And up to this point, I feel like everything I've said is in the first chapter, setting the scene of the book, and it's all in the back of the book already stated by the author in the description of the book. So I just have to tell you, this book has some palpable pages, some intense emotions coming off every single page, every single scene, and I cannot wait for the entire world to watch the movie, including myself. I can't wait till it comes out, especially now that I know about it. And it was kind of like an argument between a lot of people that I know about who should play the main character. I know on TikTok, there's like a couple TikToks that are out there that are pretty big that have said that Theo James should play the character of Ryle, and I'm like, they picked, I feel like he is as a little bit out there that they picked somebody I've never heard of, but also apparently he's a director, but he might do a great job. I can't wait to see who they cast as Atlas and the mom, because like I can't see the mom as anybody other than Emily Blunt, but I'm anticipating, and I'm curious. So I hope you guys invest time on this, and I hope that you guys patiently await the movie with me. Thank you, and like and subscribe this video, and I will see you guys later.